Well, I'm running for mayor because I love this city.
Right.
I came here 20 years ago to raise my family. I had 2 babies who are now in college. And for the entire time I've been in this community, other than my commitment to my family, I've committed myself to improving our community. And I'd like to bring those skills and expertise and connections and relationships that I've built in the community to City Hall. And I think it's a different perspective. It's a community perspective. I've worked from the outside in,
right.
And I think that brings just a different kind of leadership to the city.
So basically, you have the extra step.
Pardon?
You have the extra step, experience.
Well, I just think it's a different kind of experience.
Right.
Many of the other candidates have experience in the business world. My experience and is more broad-based. I've worked with sectors all across this community. I've worked with community organizations from, just a broad range, including business, including labor, including education and healthcare, and other really important sectors. So I feel like I have the broadest base experience to bring to this race.
Understood. There has been considerable concern about city financing. Given that the state of economy, how would you go about balancing the budget?
Well, it's a major concern, and we continue to have budget deficits, year after year, which is a problem. And there's going to have to be tough choices that are made. I have said as mayor that the first thing that I will do to lead by example is I will take a 10% pay cut myself, and I'm going to direct all my department directors to take a 5% cut. And I think that what that says is it says that we at the top, so to speak, those that are going to be making the decisions about other people's lives, are willing to take the cut themselves too. I've also said that I'm going to require that my department directors provide for me within the first 60 days a top-down management review of all the departments to look at how we can find more effective and efficient ways to run government. I think that we are in a new era of government. We're going to have to look at how we do things and modernize what we do. And but again, I think that I think there will probably have to be cuts, but cuts that will be made, I would like to see made at the management, at the top, at the management and supervisory levels, instead of just at the lowest paid positions in city government.
Understood. With the same concern in mind, how would you go about bringing in additional revenue in the city?
In terms of raising taxes, I'm opposed to raising taxes. I think people have been taxed enough. We just hear it, time and time again. And when I go door to door, I mean, that's just people have sort of said enough is enough.
Like one of the first things they say.
Absolutely.
Right.
And we have raised taxes over the last several years in the city, a lot.
Ridiculous.
So it's just not a good strategy right now. It's not going to help us get out of this mess. In fact, that just makes it more difficult for families. So we're really going to have to look at the longer-term strategy is job creation. People need jobs. And we need to create in an environment here in Springfield that we are creating good jobs for people so that they can make a living and we can spur our economy. I recently just unfolded my plans to make the medical district and the healthcare industry sort of the centerpiece of my economic strategy. It just was reported recently in the latest Bureau of Labor Statistics that even in this stagnant economy, the healthcare industry across the nation is creating 22,000 jobs a month.
Wow.
So, and it's also the fastest growing industry here in Springfield. Wow. So it's not just, when you look at the healthcare industry, it's not just doctor jobs or nurses jobs. It's all kinds of jobs. It's from everything. They have communications people. They have video people. They have janitors. We have people who build the buildings. I mean, there's all kinds of jobs that are there. So job creation is really, I think, at the centerpiece of that.
Understood. What's your opinion of the current layoffs in the Springfield Convention and Visitors Bureau? Is this measure one you would have taken?
Well, I spoke actually last night in front of City Council, along with several other people, including the people who were getting their jobs who were going to be laid off, asking City Council to delay their vote on that. And again, I think there's two things with that. I mean, tourism is a very important part of Springfield's economy, and we have some of the most incredible national treasures that we are the envy of the nation, really, in a lot of ways. And we have millions of people that come to Springfield, and they not only come to the museums, but they stay over in our motels, and they eat in our restaurants, and they buy gas at the pump. I mean, so they spur our economy. So it's a little short-sighted. Or we have to be careful that when we're making cuts to certain parts that we're not really creating, more problems down the road. And tourism is a very important part of the economy here in Springfield. But I also, saying back to those specific cuts, what I asked the City Council to do was to re-examine and just to make sure that if we're going to be cutting, these positions are the lowest paid positions in city government. And before we do that, we need to make sure we have made every other kind of cut that's possible, unnecessary spending, and that people at the top levels in management and that kind of thing are also sharing the pain before we start cutting off, people making $30,000 a year.
Understood.
So,
how will you help small business in this time of economic concern?
Again, small business is in many ways the backbone of any economy. I mean, most jobs are created through small businesses. My approach to that has been, and again, I've outlined plans for once I am mayor to create a panel of business and city leaders and community people to come together and talk about how the city can be more business friendly. And it's a little bit separate from the economic strategy, but as a whole. But we hear, another thing we hear when we're out on the campaign trail and even before, we hear all the time about businesses saying how difficult it is to get their permits, to get their job. There's just so many hoops that really the city creates for businesses. So what we need to do is to bring all these players together and the people that it affects, the people that want to create businesses and those who also community people who are involved in it, and bring it together and say, how can the city be better at being more business friendly?
Right. It's true. How will you foster partnerships between the city and education, K-12 and higher education?
Well, I don't know if you know, but I've been here for 20 years, and education improvement has been my central focus of my work for 20 years here in Springfield. And I also was the education liaison for the city of Springfield. So my job, my role was to really strengthen the ties and these partnerships. And it is absolutely essential that we continue to do that. And city government has to be an integral partnership in that. And that's the kind of work I've done all along. I have been and I'll just mention with this program, I have been a long advocate, vocal advocate for CACC, and just improving our education system in general and making it more hands-on, like what you do here at CACC, so that we are engaging our students more. Because if we're not, if students are not graduating from high school, and even when they are graduating, if they're not prepared to go out into the workforce, then we're not doing our job here. Not in the education system, but also as the city. It's a joint responsibility. It's not just the teachers. It's not just they have the city council or school board is responsible for education. So not the mayor, but we need to be partnering together, and we need as a city to say this is really important, and it's an economic development strategy. Education is economic development. We are not going to have a strong city if we do not have strong schools. So it is central. I will incorporate those kinds of partnerships and really direct that every department of city government is involved with the educational partnerships, both at K-12 and at higher ed.
Understood. I'm Herman Gales.
I'm Sheila Stock-Smith.
Signing off.
Thank you.
We can edit.
Okay.